Big night for us last night, Mark.
Go on, what were you doing?
My wife and I, we were at the basketball and we got, we got on the Jumbotron.
Oh,
You
wow.
know, the big screen.
The big screen.
It wasn't the kiss cam.
Yeah.
It wasn't the muscle cam. It wasn't the dance cam. It was the couple looking glum cam, I think.
I'm Mark Stone.
And I'm James Matthews.
And today we're going to take you on a deep dive into the latest remarkable tranche of Epstein emails and other documents released by a congressional committee here in Washington.
Trump, the dog that hasn't barked. Trump, who it's claimed spent hours with an Epstein victim in Epstein's house. That's what a couple of these emails say. And there's more.
Yeah, we're going to try and put it all into some context for you, the timeline and where it could go next.
What does it mean for President Trump? What does it mean for the politics?
So, James, on Wednesday, 23,000 documents relating to the disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein were released by US lawmakers on the House Oversight Committee. I have to say it was quite a day because we got 3 emails initially released by the Democrats on that committee. And then within, an hour or so, the rest came. And it was full on. And I imagine in every newsroom, literally around the world, probably in the White House, perhaps in Buckingham Palace and elsewhere as well, people were going through this Google Doc, file within file within file. None of it was organized. So it was kind of literally a dump. And everyone trying to work out what was relevant, what was not. And with a team in our newsroom in London, we've been going through all of these emails, all of these documents. There is a lot, but let's begin with what we know about Donald Trump. Emails relating to him span across a decade up until just before Epstein's death in jail in 2019. Now, it's worth stressing that none of these emails show direct correspondence with Trump, but there are mentions of Donald Trump between Epstein and other people. And so these documents kind of give a remarkable new insight. Epstein claims a closeness with Trump, who is on record, remember, as saying that he disassociated himself with Epstein in the early 2000s.
Yeah, these span a few years, Mark, and, the contexts are different. The people involved in the correspondence are different, but the common link, of course, Donald Trump.
Yeah, they span about a decade, and you get a sense of evolving views of several people who are named in these emails. I've got some of them in front of me here. We'll start with an email that is from 2011. That's 5 years before Trump is elected president for his first term. The email is dated April 2011, not long after Epstein was released from house arrest for having solicited prostitution from a minor. He was trying to rebuild his reputation at this time. And the email is from Epstein to his co-conspirator, his girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell, now in prison here in the United States. And I'll read it to you. It says, "I want you to realize that the dog that hasn't barked is Trump. Virginia spent hours at my house with him. He has never once been mentioned." Now, the Virginia mentioned there is Virginia Giuffre, a fact that the White House has now confirmed. She was one of Epstein's victims. She died having taken her own life earlier this year. But crucially, she never accused Donald Trump of anything. The White House, though, they say that this new email and this tranche of emails prove nothing. Trump's team point to Giuffre's own words. She's never accused Trump of anything, and the White House says, quote, "She repeatedly said President Trump was not involved in any wrongdoing whatsoever and couldn't have been friendlier to her in their limited interactions."
Yeah, that was interesting, the Virginia Giuffre, the naming of her, because in the emails that name was redacted.
In the initial release of the emails.
Caroline Leavitt took it upon herself.
Yeah.
To name Virginia Giuffre. Remember, her family have consistently called for the full release of the Epstein files. Donald Trump, of course, he's always emphatically denied having any knowledge or involvement in Epstein's criminal behaviour. The thing about these emails, they don't deliver conclusive evidence otherwise, corroborated first-hand witness testimony that you would present to a court. But they do, of course, raise new questions. But much more in the documents as well, Mark, yeah?
Yeah, lots more. And what's fascinating is how Epstein's view of President Trump, his tone in the emails, how it kind of evolves. In December 2015, that's a year before Trump's election win, Epstein emails a New York Times reporter, subject line of the email, Trump. And then it says, "Have them ask my houseman about Donald almost walking through the door, leaving his nose print on the glass as young women were swimming in the pool, and he was so focused he walked straight into the door. Now, while it's not clear when this incident Epstein refers to actually took place, it does appear that his framing of his relationship with Trump is shifting into one where it looks as though Epstein is now seeking, at this point, December 2015, to discredit him. And that theme continues. In the same email exchange with the reporter, Epstein says, "Would you like photos of Donald and girls in bikinis in my kitchen?"
Remember that 2018 meeting between Trump and Putin in Helsinki? Well, that features, that of course is the meeting where Trump sided with Putin over his own intelligence services. About a month before they met, Epstein wrote to a former Prime Minister of Norway, who was at the time Secretary General of the Council of Europe. And Epstein wrote, "I think you might suggest to Putin that Lavrov can get insight on talking to me," Sergei Lavrov, Russia's foreign minister. Epstein, separately, he wrote what appears to be a reference to Russia's former UN ambassador, Vitaly Churkin. He wrote, "Churkin was great. He understood Trump after our conversations. It's not complex. He must be seen to get something. It's that simple." There are also, Mark, emails between Epstein and Michael Wolff, journalist and writer. He's written 4 books on the Trump presidency. Epstein was one of his sources, yeah?
Yeah, Michael Wolff, a man who you and I both know.
We've had him on Sky News. Yeah.
We have had him on Sky News during the election campaign. He's provided his own assessment of Donald Trump. He's a man who follows Trump very, very closely. And we now have insight into his dealings with Jeffrey Epstein. The emails suggest that Wolff was actually offering Epstein advice. He advised Epstein on how he could use his relationship with Trump to his benefit. In 2015, Wolff warned Epstein that the media organization CNN planned to ask Trump about their relationship. The email reads, "I think you should let him hang himself. If he says he hasn't been on the plane or to the house, then that gives you a valuable PR and political currency. You can hang him in a way that potentially generates a positive benefit for you. Or, if it really looks like he could win, you could save him, generating a debt." Remember, this is a time, 2016, just days before the US election. Wolff offers Epstein a chance to sit down for an interview that could finish Trump. He writes, "There's an opportunity to come forward this week and talk about Trump in such a way that could garner you great sympathy and help finish him. Interested?" Only days later, following Trump's first presidential election victory, more emails from Epstein seem to suggest that he was actually at Trump Tower. And remember, Trump said he cut his ties with Epstein many years earlier, in the early 2000s. There's an email, James, from a woman called Linda Stone to Epstein, and it says, "You still in Paris?" Epstein replies half an hour later, "Trump Tower." Now, it's not clear who, if anyone, he was supposed to be meeting at Trump Tower, or if he was actually there. There are public areas within that building. But certainly the suggestion from Epstein himself at that point is that he was in Trump Tower. We asked the White House if Jeffrey Epstein was there on that date. In response, the White House spokeswoman Abigail Jackson said simply, "These emails prove literally nothing." But I think, James, the scandal here is swirling, as with the politics.
Yeah, Donald Trump has made 2 White House appearances in the past 24 hours in the presence of the media. And on both occasions, he didn't take questions, most unlike him. They're worried. Yeah, I was on Capitol Hill yesterday, Mark, as news of these emails broke. I spoke to representatives from both sides. The second voice you will hear is Republican Bob Latta. First is Democrat Melanie Stansbury. She's on the House Oversight Committee looking into the Epstein affair.
Our leadership here is implicated in the largest sex trafficking scandal in the history, not only of the United States, but potentially in the planet. And so this email, especially the 2011 email from Jeffrey Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell, directly references Trump. It directly talks about how he spent time with one of the victims of his sex trafficking crimes at Jeffrey Epstein's house.
The House has been, especially through the House Oversight Committee with Jamie Comer, they've been working on this, and so it's been very, very important what we've seen. And so we're waiting to see when the committee finishes its work. But I know that the chairman's been doing his job.
Is the president hiding something, sir?
I don't think so. I don't think.
Should the files be released in full for the public to decide?
You know, and it's what as they work through and everything that's being released, they've been releasing a lot of the documents, in huge amounts at a time, coming out of the, as I said, out of the Oversight Committee.
He said that they would be released in full. He campaigned and called for that. Do you question why that's not the case anymore?
Well, again, you know, I'm looking at what we're doing in the House, and so with the House Oversight Committee, with the work they've been doing, and as I said, the chairman's been very diligent in the committee action.
Are you concerned that the president may be tied into serious criminal behaviour and the public is not permitted to see the evidence to make up its own mind?
No, I think that a lot of it's been already released, and there's nothing there that would implicate the president.
Always very difficult, Mark. I don't know about you, but when you go to Capitol Hill, hundreds of representatives, and I have to say they're all great and very welcoming, to us as foreign media. But, I don't have the walk chart on in my bedroom. The faces, a lot of them I don't recognise. Bob Latta interviewed him, and of course, when you interview somebody, you've buttonholed them. You do the interview, and you need their name. So normally the technique is, well, and how do you spell your name?
Very good.
Yeah, but Bob Latta, the aide who was with him, she wasn't very happy with our exchange and immediately just huckled him down the corridor. And I had no way, actually, of asking him, what is your name? So it was back to the walk chart for half an hour.
But I have to say, just on that, the Capitol Hill, it's very accessible, isn't it? It's not like the Palace of Westminster. I mean, you can walk in there, you can knock on any congressman or woman or senator's door.
Yeah.
And, they'll either open it or they won't. But, it's an accessible place.
To go back to Bob Latta, he's staying on message. Many Republicans are not, many not aligned with Trump on this Epstein business. And that's not the only fracture line in the MAGA movement. Many MAGA voices unhappy with Trump over the H-1B visa currently. That's reared its head. It's a non-immigrant visa that enables foreigners to come in and work here. The tech industry is particularly keen on it. Trump, he upset some people when he was interviewed this week, said America needed the visa because you don't have certain talents. And a few prominent MAGA voices, they made their objections clear about that. And, there is unease in the MAGA power base that will concern him, I think, and I think worries beyond MAGA. Republicans who bolted on to Trump for the ride back to power. I do wonder where they stand now amidst this whole Epstein affair. People who back Trump on the politics, who are now looking at a very puerile episode. And, there does come a time in the life cycle of every party in power where perspectives do change. Unity weakens. Supporters start to look for an off-ramp. It'll be a concern within the Trump administration that we are reaching that stage, particularly that part of the administration looking at and looking for life after Trump.
Yeah, I wonder what J.D. Vance has made of the past couple of days.
Well, as we've made clear on the podcast, he doesn't seem to be too happy.
Anyway, the emails that we've gone through here are a mere fraction of what we have already been looking at in this latest tranche. We've done a deep dive into it all. There's plenty more about Mandelson, about the former Prince Andrew, and more. You can watch all of that on the Sky News app, on the website, on YouTube as well. We'll put a link in the show notes to that deep dive. And next week, James, the US House of Representatives is promising a vote on whether to release the unreleased files. What more is out there? It feels to me a little like the walls might be closing in on the Trump White House. We should stress that President Trump has said he disassociated himself from Epstein in the early 2000s, and the White House has said these documents prove nothing. Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor continues to face scrutiny over his friendship with Epstein, but has always vigorously denied all the accusations against him in relation to the deceased paedophile. And Peter Mandelson, he told Sky News in May that he regrets his association with Epstein.
In other news, the BBC has now apologised to President Trump for the edit of a speech he made on January the 6th. He had threatened to sue the corporation for $1 billion with a Friday 5 p.m. deadline for them to comply with a number of demands, 3 in total. These were a retraction of the Panorama programme involved, an apology, and of course compensation.
Lawyers for the BBC have now responded. They've issued a statement. We've got it here. It says BBC Chair Samir Shah has separately sent a personal letter to the White House making clear to President Trump that he and the corporation are sorry for the edit of the president's speech on the 6th of January 2021, which featured in the programme. The BBC has no plans to rebroadcast the documentary Trump, A Second Chance on any BBC platforms. And it continues, while the BBC sincerely regrets the manner in which the video clip was edited, we strongly disagree there is a basis for a defamation claim.
Yeah, the BBC saying sorry, but they're obviously rebutting this demand for compensation. We'll see how that flies with Donald Trump, who has pocketed cash from media companies in the past, of course, here in the United States. The White House has issued a statement. It is more short, not very sweet. It says simply, please reach out to the president's outside counsel on this matter. Reach out, Mark. That phrase, nails on a blackboard.
The Americans have got a few. Reach out. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you. Well, I appreciate you more. Circle back.
When you say thank you to someone, you order a coffee, they give it to you, you say thanks very much. Of course.
Yeah, true.
Very American.
Oh, yeah. What about put a pin in it?
Yeah.
We've been workshopping this in the Bureau, actually, haven't we? Touch base.
Touch base.
Moving the needle.
Circle back.
Circle back, I said that.
Oh,
sorry, is that you
I'm
circling back?
Anyway, listeners, we appreciate you
We do.
for listening every day as you do. So thanks very much. That is all we've got time for today. Another manic, busy 24 hours in Trump world.
Yeah, thanks for listening and for watching. Do get in touch with your comments and thoughts. We are at Trump100 at sky.uk, of course. Many thanks. Goodbye.
Cheerio.